Hi everyone, I just got done with the John Hickenlooper town hall here in Colorado Springs, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts. And at the outset, I want to say that I respect Senator Hickenlooper as a public servant, as a person who's interested in doing good in the world and who has tried very hard to do that. And I think that he is well motivated in that regard. But I also came away convinced that he is not the right person to fight the fight that we're fighting right now, which is essentially to create some meaning around the Democratic Party, that it stands for something that is recognizable, and most and foremost, standing up against the destruction of our democracy. He was pushed very hard by the crowd on that issue. At least it seemed like a lot of pressure from my point of view, and he just didn't quite know what to do about it. He referenced demonstrations and people being in the street, etc., and he said that that didn't work in the 60s. And I thought, well, yeah, it did, because, civil rights and Vietnam, ending the war in Vietnam. But his reference point apparently was that, Nixon won, and therefore it was not successful. It was not a successful tactic. And I think that that's the wrong, sort of orientation to have around the struggle that we're in right now. If we do this right, Democrats will win, but we won't win because we're playing nice with the Republicans. And I think this helps explain his 10 votes, voting for 10 of Trump's nominees, because he sees that as a way of, don't give up on us, we can work with you. And I think working with them under this scenario is exactly the wrong approach. He himself admitted that the Republican senators are afraid because of Musk's money and the possibility of them facing a primary. Yet somehow he thinks that they will step up and somehow stop Trump from doing more of the stuff that he's been doing, specifically around immigration and the deportations. And he said that he thought that the situation was at a breaking point. And I understood his comment to mean breaking point, that things would get better, that he was hopeful. I think the crowd did as well, and maybe that is what he meant. But relying on 14 senators to overcome their fear of Elon Musk seems like a pretty thin thread to hang your democracy on. And he said, what are you in the Senate for if you can't step up? And I think it was words to that effect. And that's exactly my point back to him. What are you in the Senate for if you can't step up? And again, I don't think it's because he wouldn't like to be that person. I just think he doesn't know how to be that person. And I think he feels like it's maybe even distasteful. Now, I don't want to get into his head, I don't know what he thinks about that. But at one point, I believe he said something like, there's a role for everybody, and not everybody plays the same role. And I think that's what he was trying to say, is that that's not, necessarily how he thinks about the struggle. I found all of that interesting. I just thought I would share. Thanks.